What's up? This is Alaric Ong, and today I'm here with Eileen Wilder. Eileen is a high-ticket sales expert, and she's a virtual events coach, currently making her mark on the internet as the co-founder of several popular online businesses such as Virtual Event Secrets, Confident Closer, 2KIT, and more. Eileen has inspired and equipped thousands of new and established business owners with the sales strategies, tactics, and scripts needed to not just sell six figures in 60 minutes, but to bring transformation in the transaction. So welcome to the show, Eileen.
Thank you so much, Alaric. I'm glad to be here.
Great. Eileen, maybe you can share about your journey. How do you get started in selling high-ticket programs?
Well, actually, Alaric, I had no idea what high ticket was. I actually grew up as a pastor. I was a pastor in the ministry in the nonprofit world forever and ever until I went to a conference and I saw these people winning $1 million awards and $10 million, and I started Google stalking them. And then I found out they all sold something called high ticket. So that started me on that journey, finding kind of the secrets of the successful.
I see. And so how do you normally sell high ticket in a live event? I know like now you have COVID, but in the past when there was a live event, how do you normally sell it?
Yeah, what I would do is I would book a hotel room and I would sell tickets online, and people would fly in from all over or come from the local city there. And I would put on a 2-day live workshop. And then at the end, I'd present an opportunity just to be able to go deeper, keep working with me a little bit further, and I help them grow and scale their business. Really, at the end of that workshop, that was always my offer.
And can you share me your numbers? Like what's the most you've sold in 60 minutes before, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. The most I've sold in 60 minutes today is probably 500,000 in 60 minutes. So I've done $500,000 in 60 minutes. But when I was first getting started, I remember I sold 108,000. That was like my very first workshop. Actually, I couldn't believe it because my salary as a minister was around like $20,000-$30,000. So it was real low, and that was like our salary for the whole year, right? So when I did my first live workshop, I was so nervous. And in fact, my husband had, he took off work to support me, and his job at the time was being a rideshare driver. He was actually an Uber driver. So he didn't Uber drive that weekend, but came to the workshop. And then at the end, there were only 12 people in the room, but we sold 108,000. And that was the moment when
out of 12 people in the room, how many bought the thing and allowed?
Yeah. I think I made maybe six sales, and I was like a $20-something thousand program, and then we did 108,000.
Okay.
And what was crazy was a couple months later we did it again. In fact, there were exactly the same amount of people. There were 12 people in the room, but I started seeing the power of making a lot of money in a little bit of time. That was the game changer for me. Was I don't have to wait a year to make this much money. I can do it in 60 minutes.
Wow. And so like when you first sold a $30,000 offer, it must be super scary because like, that's something you used to take a year to make. Take me through the psychology behind like, how do you better against yourself, the limiting beliefs about, I'm sure we all probably had some limiting beliefs about money and about how do you better through that?
Yeah, and I hired a mentor to help me through some of this, but one of the foundational beliefs he taught me is he said, Eileen, everything that you are believing about a future outcome is a story that you've already made up in your mind. That we don't know if that's true or not. It's like we look at the future and we are making up stories. And he said, well, if that's true, like if everything that you're making up is a story, why don't you tell yourself the story that you have a $20,000 package, or you have a $50,000 package, or you have a $100,000 package? Just go ahead and kind of mentally ascend there first and start to own the space and the confidence around that story. So even before I had made the $20,000 program, one of the ways I did it, Alaric, was on my wall, I put up the numbers of the types of packages I wanted to have. I remember I put up a $20,000, and just so I could see the number, and I'd look at it every day. And I put up a $50,000 number, and eventually now I have a $1 million offer. So I was starting to marinate my mentality that this is who I am, and this is what I do, and this is what I have.
Got it. And do you still sell low ticket like $5,000 or $3,000 products?
Sometimes, yeah, we do in certain instances, really to kind of like help people be able to afford our bigger package stuff. We'll teach people how to, it's so easy. There's so much opportunity and so many high ticket clients online right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll tell people, yeah, sometimes with a lower price package just to get them started. Like, I know that would have helped me back right when I was getting started.
Got it. And okay, I was watching one of the webinars that you did with Joe, right?
Yeah.
And in that webinar, you all talked about how you collect a non-refundable deposit. So
Yeah.
how much do you normally collect as a non-refundable deposit? And can you take me through the whole sales process of like
Okay.
how many people actually from the non-refundable deposit actually pay in full in the end, and how many like don't, how many you reject, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you some rough estimates. So we'll only collect a $1997 or $2,000 deposit on most of our offers.
Okay.
There might be an instance where we would collect a $1,000 deposit if it was a lower ticket item, maybe something $10,000 or less, but that's really rare for us to offer something like that.
Okay.
Normally it's a 2K deposit. That's how people get started. The reason why we make it non-refundable is because a refundable deposit isn't a decision.
Okay.
And what we're looking for are people who are serious and not curious. We're looking for people who want to make a decision. That's incredibly important to us for a number of reasons, because we don't want to work with people who are indecisive. People who are indecisive and can't put down a non-refundable deposit won't work well in our program. You know, one of the characteristics of millionaires is they're quick and decisive. So that's why we'll always make it a non-refundable deposit, and we'll teach the audience, this is why you want us to give you a non-refundable deposit, you know?
Okay.
So now the majority of people, they'll have no problem fulfilling the rest of the investment. They'll either do through our funding partner, or oftentimes we'll take half of the program price down. So they just do half down for the rest of the program. And then they can finance the rest through us or through the funding partner. Very rarely though, we will have somebody that will put the deposit down and not be able to get the money together or the funding together. And so what we'll do in that situation is we'll just basically say, when you get this sorted, come back to us and we'll save your seat.
Got it.
So that's, yeah.
When you say rarely, like, will you say 10%, 5%, 20%?
I would say way less than 5%. I would say
5%.
less than 5%. Yeah,
less than 5%. Okay, that's cool. And what about for virtual events? Is it the same process, or how is a virtual event different
than a live event? Well, number one, it's actually way easier. The coolest thing about virtual events is like there's so much more scalable, right? Like before, we used to have people fly to us, and then they'd have to pay a hotel, and they'd have to pay travel and all these sorts of things. But now with virtual events, we're able to reach people in all countries all over the place, and they just join in with us on our Zoom room. So we're able to have hundreds and hundreds of people now in our virtual events, whereas before that was a little bit harder to fill hundreds. You have to have a pretty big budget to fill a room with 1,000 people or 500 people, but now you don't have to have a big budget at all.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so okay, let's say if you do the event on the weekend, okay, and you collect the non-refundable deposit.
Yep.
Normally, when do you collect the remainder of the payment?
Good. Within 7 days or less. So they'll fulfill the rest of, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll give people the opportunity to move money around. Sometimes people have it in different accounts and whatever, so we'll give them about 7 days to fulfill the investment. For sure.
And do you get people to pay in full? Like, do some people actually pay in full at the event itself?
Yeah, actually, we have a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of people that we work with are doing really great. They're doing really well financially, so they're able to put down 100,000, 50,000, whatever the offer is that we're doing. It isn't uncommon that we'll have a wire transfer occur the same day that we close the event. Yeah.
So okay, even if you close $100,000 package, you also collect a $2,000 refundable deposit, a $2,000 deposit.
Yeah, and the reason why is because we practice something called closing the room. So this is different than, we're not inviting people to a sales call. We're inviting people to, in a matter of minutes, basically in 60 minutes, we're saying by the end of this call, you need to have gone to this page and filled out an application. You'll see that there's an application fee there of $2,000. So that's the way that they'll get into the opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they pay first and then they fill out the application, or they fill out the application and they pay?
Yeah, it's almost the same in the way we do it. The checkout is like, it's almost like checking out for a $2,000 product, but there's also questions.
I see.
And so
Okay,
there are,
that's.
yeah,
And do you ever reject people?
yeah,
And if you reject them, do you refund them the deposit, or how does it work?
yeah, we will refund the deposit. If we feel like it's really not a good fit, like, let me give you an example. Sometimes, not sometimes, but one time I remember somebody was rude to our team
Mm-hmm.
in that process. I don't know how it happened, but they were texting them and felt a rude response from this prospect and the client. And immediately that's a red flag for us, because we only want people that are positive, that are super teachable, super coachable. So very quickly, we will reject people quicker than most people, I think, because we're very selective about who we want to work with. Yeah.
So what are some ways that you use to pre-frame people about the objection of not having enough money? Because I mean, money would definitely be an objection. What are some stories that you use? I know Myron has his own set of stories. What are some stories that you use?
Well, I think not having enough money is really just a story people are telling themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have a lot of closes, a lot of stories that we'll use that help people understand that while you may have that story, there are thousands, if not millions of people who don't have that story.
Mm-hmm.
So is it serving you to keep believing and telling yourself a story when the reality is totally different?
Mm-hmm.
I love to use a quote from Brendan Burchard where he said, your internal insecurity is not market reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I will question people and have them start to question, how long are you willing to hold on to that story if you just believe what the market's telling you and you could go out and make millions right now?
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a limiting belief that people have that I don't have enough money. Like it would serve people at a much higher level to reframe that and say, it's not about, do I have the resource? It's about, how resourceful can you get?
Mm-hmm.
Money is everywhere. You could, like, if you really wanted something, and this is really funny, I've seen people like really want an iPhone and they will like find the money. They will find the money. They won't think about, do I have the money? They will find the money. So it really has more a question about commitment and more a question about, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Those are some reframes we'll use.
Cool. And will you accept people who take on debt in order to enroll in your high ticket program? Like, do you encourage that?
I actually do. I mean, I encourage debt in the right. I encourage use of other people's money if the opportunity will make you money.
Mm-hmm.
And in very many cases is guaranteed to make you money. If you
Okay.
follow the system, it's like the stock market, right? Like, you're investing to get an ROI.
Mm-hmm.
So using other people's money to get a higher ROI, then we totally think it's great. We actually think that that's scriptural and that's biblical. It's not, it's totally fine to use other people's money if you're going to get an ROI.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like making the payment, right? What are some financing options that you give to people? Like, you say you have a funding partner. How does the business model work? Do they have to pay a percentage and interest? How does it normally work? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole section of businesses that will work with entrepreneurs like myself, that we can send our clients to them and they can get financed through them, almost like a little mini bank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know the percentages that they use and I don't really know how they do it, but I know that we'll send our clients there, they'll get approved, and then we will receive the payment in full, and then the client or the prospect will be making payments to that funding partner.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we use that in a lot of different ways.
So normally, like, what kind of packages do you sell? And like, what's the monthly payment that the client has to pay?
Oh, that's a good question. I have no idea what the month. I think that has to do a lot with their credit score,
Mm-hmm.
and how much the package is. We have packages that range all the way from 10 to a million.
Okay.
Yeah, 10,000 to a million. Yeah.
Cool. And so how do you deliver the training to make sure that all your clients get results?
Well, first of all, it begins with the client recognizing that they're the one that's going to get the results.
Mm-hmm.
We have a system that works, but I think a lot of people need to recognize ultimately the responsibility comes down to them. And if they'll do our system, they will get the result. They will
Mm-hmm.
do 6 and maybe 7 figures in 60 minutes if they do our system. So that's exciting.
Okay.
And so the couple of ways that when people come in, we have like a really specific client success coach that's kind of assigned to that person, and that will help guide that person holding their hand like every step of the way.
Is it like one-to-one or group?
We do both. We do some one-to-one and some group. So we're
Okay.
it's like a bulletproof system.
Okay.
And you can't advance to the next step unless you've passed the first phase. Like there's phases and you have to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a little bit like pass fail. You won't proceed unless you've passed that phase.
Got it.
Yeah.
So does this work only in like a 2-day, 3-day kind of live event? Or if let's say you were to pitch a 60-minute webinar to a core audience, could you replicate the same kind of results? Or it requires like, you know, three days of, or 2 days of, you know, seeding? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. So yeah, the system will work almost in any virtual scenario, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It will work in a webinar scenario. It will work in a 5-day challenge. It will work in a 2-day event. It will work in a 3-day event. The reason why we prescribe the 2-day virtual event is because we see the conversion metrics higher in a 2-day event. Okay. We can convert between 20 to 35%, in some situations 40% of the room, if someone will do a 2-day event. The reason why that is because immersion causes conversion. Mm-hmm. So the 2-day event, there is more time for people to generate the sales momentum that's needed to convert 40% of the room. Now, it'll still work in a webinar. It'll still work in a challenge. It's amazing if you implement a system, it will work. But those are the numbers that we've been able to crush so hot. Like when you're able to help clients do 7 figures, it's in a 2-day event.
Have you tried it doing it on like a webinar, like like a stone cold audience, a 60-minute webinar, and you try the same system before?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And what's the conversion rate normally?
The conversion rate's a little bit lower. So I mean, usually with the webinar conversion rate, with the stuff that we're doing, it's somewhere, to be honest, like probably closer to 10 to 20%. Usually like 8% would be a good close rate on a webinar. Yeah, we've been 10 to 20% in that.
Awesome, cool. Can you share with my audience, okay, when I saw your story, when I saw your Instagram story about how you first learned about high ticket sales, and it blew your mind. Can you share with the audience a little bit about that? Yeah, and get them excited about, selling high ticket, and that they could do it also.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first discovered about that, like every wealthy entrepreneur sold high ticket, and I started Google stalking all of them, I quickly realized that low ticket items, courses, even books, even like anything low ticket is a lot more work. Mm-hmm. That was one of the number one realized that it's actually harder to dial in the copy, harder to dial in the funnel, harder to dial in all of the marketing. It's almost like AP, or the advanced marketing, is for low ticket items. What I discovered with high ticket is if you start selling anywhere, let's say 2K, 5K, 10K, start there, you're going to be selling that over the phone and when you're just getting started. Yeah. But the really cool thing is if you start selling high ticket and you get good at selling high ticket, you get this, number one, you get a cash infusion. You get a ton of cash to build out whatever you need to build out. Number one, you get to build out the high ticket program. Mm-hmm. Number two, you can make courses and lower ticket things go down the value ladder, but you start with a cash infusion. What I have noticed, Alaric, on the internet is everybody is missing that specific thing. Like they're building and they're building and they're building, and it's taking 5 years to get a cash infusion when they could have gotten a cash infusion in 1 day or less if they had started doing high ticket. So you can imagine everything's better if you have it being funded by a cash infusion. The second thing that got me so pumped was high ticket clients are like the best kind of clients in the internet to work with. They are so excited, they're happy, they're grateful. There's no refunds, there's no complaining. They're showing up with their notebooks and their pens, and guess what else they're doing? They're taking massive action on what you teach them to do. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they've invested with you. There's a scripture that says, like, where your treasure is, there your heart is also. Mm-hmm. So when you invite people to put their treasure with you, their heart is in it. You know what they're doing, Alex? They're like texting you or staying. They're like, I can't sleep. I'm so excited. High ticket clients are the best to work with. And when you sell high ticket, you can serve those clients at the absolute highest level. One of my most favorite things to do is to send like luxury items to my high ticket clients. Back in the day, I used to take them out to dinner, take them to fancy hotels. You can serve your high ticket clients at the highest level if you just raise your prices, charge more.
When do you start learning how to sell high ticket?
24, 36 months ago, probably 2 years ago is when I really started learning it.
And you started off with doing sales calls and then you moved on into doing stage selling?
Yes, that's right.
Awesome. And okay, so let's say if you want to sell, let's say a 30K package, right? So throughout the 2 days, do you normally like pre-frame and seed them that, okay, I have a 50K package, and then later on you drop the price and say it's a 30K package, and, or do you from the start you tell them it's a 30K package? Because I've been for some events and they would tell a higher price and then they drop the price. Yep. Is that a strategy you use?
That is a strategy that I believe that Myron Golden was the origin of something called the price marinade. And then Russell did it at the stage in Grant Cardone. So I know that idea I heard first from Myron, which was price marinating. Now, I have found that what it does is I like to call it a value marinade. So sometimes I will do that. It depends on the package. It depends on what I'm doing. But what I want to do is with factual stories, back up the worth of the package at a very high price.
Got it.
So for instance, one of my clients, she also did $500,000 in one day. So I'll write that on a board. I'll introduce that as the value of how valuable would it be if I taught you how to make $500,000 in one day. My partner Joe helped Dan Henry do $1 million day. So we'll write that. So yeah, we will kind of help establish the mind on the true value of what it is that we have. And when you do that, and for those of you who are listening and watching on a webinar or in a live event, then later when you do what's called the price reveal, then people are usually in awe of what they could get at that specific thing, at that price right there at the event. They say that you can only do this right here at the event.
So how did Joe work with Dan Henry? He was like the event organizer, or like what was the roles during that event? I know Dan Henry did $1 million day. I was super impressed by that.
Yeah, my partner Joe, the same strategies that we will do inside our program called Virtual Freedom Live. However, Joe, we also offer an opportunity where we can help people put on their events. And that's what Joe was helping do. He was there at the event. He was doing some emceeing. He was doing some closing. So he was like there with Dan at the event. Whereas a lot of our students will just teach them how to do it and they can go out and crush their own event without us. Yeah.
Got it. And what do you think about free information versus paid information? Like yesterday I was in this clubhouse room and there's people talking about free information versus paid information. Right. Why do people still pay? Like now that information is almost free, right? And there's so many thought leaders, so many business influencers who give out information on YouTube and everything for free. Why do people still pay for information?
I think people pay for us, honestly, like the cliff notes of the information. I feel like there's so much free information, but people who have money, and especially high ticket clients, they don't have time to sort through all the information and figure it out. You know, for somebody to figure out how to do a virtual event or how to close from stage, that can take a while to figure out if you were on your own. So I think people pay for information if they know that the information is kind of just the set of steps they need, just the micro checklists they need in order to get the result faster. I think people will always pay for speed.
And so let's say for your program, how fast is, like how fast or how long is the process to get someone from zero to the outcome that you promise?
Yeah, we promise $500,000. That's what we've done for our clients, and we've done ourselves, like $500,000 easy. You can do $1 million, like it depends on where your business is at, your audience. So for us, it's usually a 3-month process. You can do it in 3 months. We teach you to do an event once a month for 3 months. And usually it will start somewhere between 100,000 to 200,000 will be your first event, then somewhere about 300,000 will be your next event, and your third event, you'll have everything dialed in to do $500,000.
Wow. That's amazing. That's
Yes.
amazing. And how many percent of your clients do you think like hit that?
How many? Well, 100% of
100% of your clients hit $500,000 in 3 months.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, 100%. Like we have a couple different tracks, but everybody who makes it to the third phase, they'll do $500,000. We haven't had one student that hasn't done $500,000 yet who's gotten our third stage. Ours is one,
Wow.
2, 3. If they're in their third stage, they'll do it. They
Oh,
have to
so you've got 3 different packages, is it something like that?
Well, it's not 3 different packages, it's 3 different phases in the program.
Okay.
So maybe like college, I'll say it like that, but it's in college in 3 months. So they have to hit phase 1, they have to hit phase 2, and then once they enter into phase 3, they'll do $500,000.
And do you teach them high ticket sales on the phone as well, or only stage selling?
We actually teach both, because that's actually inside phase 1, because they have to master the offer and closing the offer one-to-one before they can go one-to-many.
Got it. Cool. So do you have a podcast that people can listen to, a book? I know you have an event coming up which I signed up for. Okay, and I'm super excited. 12 and 13 March you have an event coming up. Okay, come promote any of the things that you want to promote. Yeah.
Well, we have an event. It's at virtualeventsecrets.us, virtualeventsecrets.us. Yeah, where you can hang out with us for 2 days, learn about how to crush your virtual event, learn how to do 6 figures, learn how to do 7 figures, whatever your goals are, you can do it 100% with a virtual event. That's the most, like, the coolest thing. And the other coolest thing is virtual events are here to stay. You know, like the whole world has, like, there's never been an opportunity than right now to start doing virtual events, because everybody worldwide is on something called Zoom. So the opportunity is so massive right now for any market, any niche, to crush it with an event on Zoom. So that event's coming up in a couple of weeks in March, or you can visit me on my podcast, which is the Confident Closer Show on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast. But thanks so much for having me, Alaric.
And what's your social media handles? Like your Instagram, your Clubhouse? Yeah.
IG. I'm way more active. It's Eileen Wild, EILEENWILD, Eileen Wild.
Cool. Thank you so much for being on the show. I learned a lot. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you on 12 and 13 March. And do you know that, guys, all of you definitely should sign up for this event. I'm actually doing a course on 13 March, okay? And on 12 to 13 March, right, it's like US timing. It's like my 1 a.m. to 9 a.m., okay? So over here in Singapore, it's 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. If I'm attending her event from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 12 and 13 March, I still have to conduct a course on 13 March from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. If I'm attending and I paid to attend, all of you definitely should attend, because you're going to get, like, if I attend, you're definitely should attend, okay? So thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward to seeing you on the course on 12 and 13 March.
Can't wait to see you. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.